In a world overflowing with light, colors, beauty, and movement, there lived a man who had never experienced any of it. From the very moment he was born, his life was covered in darkness. Not the kind of darkness that disappears with the sunrise, but a deep, endless darkness that stayed with him every second of his life. He had never seen the sky, never watched the sunrise, never witnessed the golden glow of evening light. He did not know what colors looked like. He could not recognize faces, not even his own. While others ran freely, laughed with joy, and lived without limits, he sat still, bound by a condition he never chose. Every single day, someone would lead him to the roadside. That became his world, a dusty path filled with footsteps, voices, and passing strangers. And there he would sit, with an empty hand stretched forward, begging, not because he wanted to, but because he had no other way to survive. People passed by constantly. Some ignored him as if he didn't exist. Some dropped a coin without even looking at his face. And others spoke words that hurt deeper than his blindness. Who sinned? They would ask, was it this man or his parents that he was born blind? To them, his condition was not just physical, it was a punishment. Cursi, a sign that something had gone wrong. But no one truly knew his heart. No one understood the silent battles he fought every day, because behind his quiet presence, there was a storm of thoughts, questions without answers, pain without comfort, and a longing that never left him. A simple, powerful desire to see light just once, to see the face of another human being, to see the world everyone else talked about. Days turned into months, months turned into years, and slowly, hope began to fade. The world moved forward, but he remained in the same place. Unchanged, dot comma, unnoticed, unseen. Yet, deep within him, something refused to die. A small spark, a quiet hope, a belief that maybe, just maybe, his life could change. Because even in the deepest darkness, faith can still be born. And sometimes, when everything seems lost, that tiny spark is all you need. He didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. Because one day, the light of the world would pass by him, and in a single moment, his darkness would be confronted by something greater than he had ever imagined. A power, a presence, a miracle waiting to happen.
That day began like any other. The same road, the same dust, the same routine that had not changed for years. The blind man sat in his usual place, listening carefully to the sounds around him. Footsteps passed by, one after another. Voices blended into noise. Nothing new, nothing different. But then, something shifted. The atmosphere felt alive. The crowd grew larger than usual. The noise was different this time. Not just random voices, but excitement, whispers, anticipation. People were talking about someone. A name began to echo through the air. Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth. The blind man had heard that name before. Stories had reached even him. Stories of miracles, healing, impossible things becoming possible. They said the lame could walk, the sick were restored, and even the broken found hope again. And now, that same man was passing by, right where he was sitting. Something awakened inside him, that small spark of hope. hidden deep within his heart, suddenly began to burn brighter. Could this be his moment? Could this be the answer to all the silent prayers he had carried for so long? His heart began to race. This was not the time to stay silent. This was not the moment to hesitate. With everything inside him, he cried out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." His voice cut through the noise. People turned. The crowd reacted immediately. "Be quiet," they said sharply. "Don't disturb him." To them, he was just a beggar, just a voice that didn't matter. But they didn't understand something powerful. When your miracle is near, silence becomes impossible. So he cried out again, louder, stronger, with more desperation than ever before. "Lord, have mercy on me." This was not just a shout. This was faith speaking. Faith that refused to be ignored. Faith that refused to be silenced. And then something incredible happened. The noise began to slow. The movement of the crowd paused. Footsteps stopped. Everything stood still. Because in that very moment, Jesus stopped walking. Out of all the voices calling him, out of all the people surrounding him, he stopped for one man, a blind man, a forgotten man, a man the world had overlooked. But not Jesus, never Jesus. In the middle of the crowd, in the middle of the noise, he heard one voice of true faith, and he responded. "Call him," Jesus said. The same people who tried to silence him now changed their tone. "Take courage," they told him. "Get up, he is calling you." Imagine that moment. The blind man's heart must have been pounding. Hope, fear, excitement, all at once. After years of darkness, after years of waiting, this was it. The moment that could change everything. And without hesitation, he stood up, ready to step into the unknown, guided only by faith. Step by step, he began moving toward the voice that could change his life forever.
Step by step, he moved forward. Each step was uncertain, yet filled with hope. The crowd that once ignored him was now watching him. Some were curious, some were amazed. Others were simply waiting to see what would happen next. People guided him carefully, leading him through the crowd, closer and closer to Jesus. And then, he stopped. He was standing right in front of him, face to face with the one everyone was talking about, the one who performed miracles, the one who changed lives. Yet he still could not see him, but somehow he could feel something, a presence unlike anything he had ever experienced before. Peace, power, love, all at once. This was no ordinary man. This was something more. And then, in that powerful moment, Jesus spoke. Not with noise, not with force, but with calm authority. "What do you want me to do for you?" The question seemed simple, almost obvious, but it carried something deeper. Jesus wanted him to speak his faith, to declare what he truly believed. The blind man didn't hesitate. After years of darkness, pain, waiting, hoping, his answer came straight from his heart. "Lord, I want to see. Not wealth, not comfort, not an easier life. Just sight, just light, just one chance to experience the world he had never known." There was silence for a moment, a sacred pause, and then Jesus responded with words that would change everything forever. "Receive your sight. Your faith has healed you." Those words were not just spoken. They carried power, authority, divine life, and instantly, something began to happen. The darkness that had covered him for his entire life started to break. Light, slowly, began to enter. At first, it was unfamiliar, overwhelming. After a lifetime of darkness, even the smallest light felt powerful. Shapes began to form. Blurred images started to take shape. And then, clarity. For the very first time, he could see. The world he had only imagined was now right in front of him. The sky wide and endless. The people moving around him. The light shining brighter than anything he had ever known. And then, his eyes fell upon one face, the face of the one who healed him, Jesus. The first person he ever saw was the one who gave him sight, Can you imagine that moment? To open your eyes for the first time and see the face of mercy, the face of love, the face of the miracle itself. In that instant, his life was completely transformed. The man who once lived in darkness was now standing in the light, not just physically, but completely, deeply changed, and this was only the beginning.
In that moment, the blind man's world changed forever. For the first time, light poured into his eyes. Every shadow, every shape, every movement, everything he had imagined for years suddenly became real. The sky he had only heard described in whispers was now vast above him, painted with colors he had never known existed. The green of the grass, the gold of the sun, the sparkling blue of the distant river, all of it flooded his senses at once. Faces appeared around him, faces of strangers, friends, family faces he had only known by voice or by touch. And then, the most important face, Jesus Christ, the man who had healed him, the one who had stopped in the crowd to hear his cry, stood before him. For a lifetime, he had lived unseen, forgotten, invisible to the world. But now, in a single instant, everything changed. The world that had passed him by was suddenly vibrant and alive. The man who had been ignored, laughed at, and dismissed now saw everything with new eyes. And yet, even more powerful than the physical sight he had received was the transformation within his heart. This was more than a miracle of vision. This was a miracle of restoration. The hopelessness of years was washed away in the light that filled his eyes. His faith, his persistent cry for mercy, had drawn the attention of the Savior. And now he could truly see not only the world around him, but also the love and power of God at work. The crowd was stunned. Some fell silent, awestruck by what they had witnessed. Others whispered among themselves, unable to comprehend the magnitude of what had just occurred. But the blind man's heart knew the truth. He had been healed because he had believed. Jesus looked at him with compassion, not just seeing the eyes that were now open, but the faith that had brought him to this moment. He had proven that no distance, no darkness, no obstacle could prevent God's power from reaching those who truly believe. This story reminds us that the greatest miracles often begin with a single act of faith. The blind man did not receive his sight because of wealth, status, or privilege. He received it because he dared to cry out, to trust, to believe that Jesus could change his life. And it was not just about seeing. It was about understanding that life in Christ restores more than what is lost physically. The blind man's soul, weighed down by years of darkness and rejection, now experienced the light of hope, the light of purpose, and the light of love. He no longer just survived. He began to live. He no longer wandered in shadows. He was free. He no longer was forgotten. He was now fully seen by the Creator of the universe. And this was only the beginning of his journey, for the man who had been blind would now follow Jesus. And his testimony of faith and healing would inspire countless others. Because miracles are not just about changing what we see, they are about transforming who we are.
Today, the story of the blind man is more than just a tale from long ago. It is a message for each of us right here, right now. Perhaps you feel trapped in darkness. Maybe life has left you discouraged, overlooked, or unheard. Perhaps you've cried out for change, for healing, for hope. But it seems as if no one is listening. Know this, Jesus still stops for the blind. He still hears the cries of those the world ignores. He still sees the hearts that long for light. The same Jesus who touched the eyes of the blind man centuries ago is alive today, reaching into your life, ready to bring sight, clarity, and purpose. He asks each of us the same question he asked the blind man. What do you want me to do for you? You may want healing. You may want freedom from fear, despair, or brokenness. You may long to see a new direction in life, or simply to know that someone cares. Whatever it is, Jesus invites you to speak your faith. Cry out, reach out, believe. Faith is not about seeing first, it is about believing first. The blind man believed. He acted in trust, and in doing so, he received not only physical sight, but also hope, courage, and a new beginning. Your miracle may not look exactly like his. It may come gradually. It may come in unexpected ways. But God's timing is perfect. And when He moves, your life will never be the same. Darkness will be replaced by light. Fear will be replaced by peace. Hopelessness will be replaced by purpose. This is the power of Jesus, the same power that opened the eyes of the blind can open your eyes to see the beauty, the opportunities, and the love surrounding you. The same power can restore your heart, renew your spirit, and guide your steps. Once blind, now able to see. Once hopeless, now filled with hope. Once forgotten, now fully known by God. And just like the man who followed Jesus after being healed, your story can become a testimony. A story of faith overcoming fear. A story of light breaking through darkness. A story that inspires others to believe, to trust, and to act. So today, stand in faith. Cry out, follow His guidance. Trust even when you cannot see. Because miracles still happen. Lives still change. Eyes are still opened. Hearts are still healed. Once blind, now you can see. Once lost, now you are found. Once hopeless, now you are full of light. Your miracle is waiting. All you have to do is believe. Miracles happen. Light always conquers darkness. Your story can change, just as His word promises.